The city hall was closing, its echoing corridors deserted. When her Instagram post flashed across my screen, a shard of ice splintering my carefully constructed future. It was our anniversary. I was waiting for her, holding the marriage certificate application, ready to sign our lives together. Instead, there she was, Chloe, beaming, her face flushed with exertion, nestled beside Jax, an old university friend, both clad in matching athletic gear. The caption burned into my vision. Sometimes the best things happen on a whim. A vibrant red heart emoji pulsed at the end. My thumb, numb with disbelief, instinctively tapped like a heartbeat later. The post vanished like a cruel magic trick, as if the universe itself was mocking my agony. My own heart felt like a lead weight, squeezed by an invisible fist. I called my mom, my voice hollow, a stranger's voice. "It's me, Mom. I'm coming home." That evening, Chloe breezed into my rented apartment. I was methodically putting away the half-eaten takeout containers I'd picked up from the upscale bistro, where I'd made reservations for our celebratory dinner. Just a week ago, surrounded by our friends, she'd accepted my proposal. We had promised each other that today, our anniversary, we would make it official. I'd taken the day off, meticulously planned a romantic candlelit evening after our trip to the registrar's office. But the day had slipped by without a single call or text from her. After leaving the deserted city hall, I'd gone to the restaurant and asked them to pack up our untouched meal. "Generous tonight, aren't we?" she teased, tossing her car keys onto the kitchen counter. 6 dishes and a soup. You're the kind of guy who orders extra veggies at a barbecue and pretends it's for a diet, just to save money. Chloe always loved to poke fun at me, a habit cultivated in an environment of endless privilege. Usually, I'd laugh along, but tonight, silence hung heavy between us. Perhaps sensing something amiss, her tone softened. "Oh, Ethan, I'm exhausted. Could you rub my shoulders?" The word sorry had never been in Chloe's vocabulary. Whenever we argued, instead of apologizing, she'd ask for a small favor, a massage, a home-cooked meal, her laundry done. It was her olive branch. Her way of signaling the fight was over. Wanting desperately to reconcile, I had never once refused. But tonight was different. "Why are you tired?" I asked, my voice flat. "Didn't you just have a blast playing with your college friend? Frisbee, wasn't it?" She raised an eyebrow, a flicker of irritation in her eyes. "What's this? Are you being sarcastic?" "Fine, I admit it. I played Frisbee with Jax." I nodded slowly. "Do you remember what today is?" "Of course I do," she replied, her expression unconcerned. "Our anniversary." But think about it. If two people truly love each other, isn't every day like Valentine's? We love each other enough. Besides, I'm here now, aren't I? She spoke with a smug confidence, seemingly oblivious to the fact I'd seen her post. If she'd known, she probably wouldn't have altered her plans, might still be with Jax now. I looked at her, my voice quiet but weighted with unspoken meaning. "Besides our anniversary, what else is today?" She frowned, her gaze finally landing on a stack of papers I'd carried all day, the marriage application, lying on the dining table. A fleeting shadow of confusion, then guilt, crossed her face. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I completely forgot about signing the papers today. But it's fine, isn't it? What's the difference if it's a day earlier or later? We can just go tomorrow. I'll clear my schedule. We can go together, okay?" She wrapped her arms around me from behind, pressing her cheek against mine, her voice a soft, placating murmur. I let out a bitter, hollow laugh. "Go with me? Since when did getting married become something you had to go with me to do?" I gently pushed her hands away. In my mind, I still saw myself sitting alone in the crowded City Hall corridor, clutching the application, waiting for someone who no longer wished to walk with me. She pulled back, her face contorted in disbelief. "Ethan, are you crazy? You just pushed me." Since we'd started dating, no matter how badly she behaved, I had never laid a hand on her. She was born into luxury, and I'd always believed that if I couldn't give her a more extravagant life, I could at least offer her boundless patience. Yet today, A simple act of pushing her hands away was enough to ignite her fury. She angrily swiped at the cheap dining table I'd bought online. The corner of the table slammed into my foot. My big toenail cracked, and blood immediately welled on the floor. "Ethan, I didn't mean to. Are you okay? We need to go to the hospital right away." I gritted my teeth, enduring the searing pain, and stood up calmly. "Go home. I can get to the hospital myself." She scoffed. "I know you. A guy who uses coupons to buy his girlfriend coffee wouldn't waste money on a hospital. Tell you what, let's call it even. You pushed me. I forgot the marriage papers were square. Now let's go to the hospital. Don't make a big deal out of this." She grabbed my hand, intending to pull me along, but then her phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, immediately turned a few steps away, and lowered her voice to answer. "Hello. Yes, I know. I'll be right there." She hung up, turned back, her voice urgent. "Jack sprained his ankle pretty badly. He lives alone. No one to look after him. I have to go there right now. You're a grown man. You could take care of yourself, right? Text me when you're done at the hospital, so I know you're okay. I'll make time to go with you for the papers later." With that, she rushed out of the apartment, leaving behind the faint scent of her perfume. I didn't yell. I didn't try to stop her. I didn't even accuse her. My heart, by then, had turned to cold ash. Just as she expected, I bandaged my own wound and cleaned up the mess on the floor. That night, I packed a small bag. When I saw the brand new matching sports hoodies in my closet, the ones we'd never worn, I paused. After college, I'd chosen to stay in Metropolis to build my career. Chloe was my first manager back then. She was drawn to my diligence and conscientiousness, and I was captivated by her youthful, proud beauty. We fell into a relationship quickly, and only much later did I learn her family owned the entire company where I worked. Her parents initially opposed our relationship fiercely, but Chloe was adamant. For her, I turned down a better job opportunity back in my hometown. To prove myself worthy, I poured every ounce of energy into my work, toiling endlessly, sacrificing everything. But the more time passed, the more I realized we belonged to two completely different worlds. Take those hoodies, for example. When I excitedly gifted them to her, she just raised an eyebrow. "Ethan, we're not kids anymore. Matching outfits are childish. Only insecure couples need to wear the same clothes to prove they're in love." So, the hoodies I bought 3 years ago were still brand new, never once worn. For years, I tried to change myself to fit her ideal of a mature, calm man. But it wasn't until today, seeing that Instagram photo, that I understood. That maturity she demanded was only for me. With others, she could still be impulsive, carefree, and happy. Looking back, I didn't believe she ever truly loved me. Perhaps she chose me because I was someone she could completely control. Fine. If I couldn't win, at least I could leave in silence. Lying in bed, I opened my phone and booked a train ticket to my hometown for a few days later. In the past, when I seriously considered a future with Chloe, my mind was constantly consumed by the wealth gap between our families, the disdainful looks from her parents, and the sarcastic remarks from her friends. For years, I'd lived under a suffocating weight. I was from a small town where people couldn't fathom spending $100 on a sweet latte instead of a cheap, healthy black coffee. And I certainly couldn't understand why a marriage proposal had to come with a $20,000 diamond ring that couldn't even be resold for half its value. I never had a chance to negotiate. Every time I even broached the subject of money, she'd give me a cold stare and say that if I truly loved her, I wouldn't hesitate over the ring's price. It seemed, in her eyes, my love was measured in dollars. To avoid being a burden to my parents, I became a burden to myself. I never ordered takeout. Even when I was sick, I dragged myself to the office, terrified to take a day off or visit a doctor. A single emergency room visit could wipe out weeks of overtime pay. I didn't buy new clothes until the old ones were tattered beyond repair. I took on projects nobody else wanted, all to prove that if I worked hard enough, I could stand proudly beside Chloe, that beautiful, wealthy woman, without feeling insignificant. Yet, even then, she rarely took me to her social gatherings. My photos never appeared on her social media feed. If anyone scrolled through Chloe's accounts, they'd think she was a single, free, successful woman. That's why she always had countless admirers around her. I once tried to have a serious conversation with her about it, which resulted in a massive argument. "Ethan, we're adults. Can you stop being so childish?" she'd yelled. "If people like pursuing me, let them. I'm not doing anything with them, am I?" Perhaps to appease me, right after Valentine's Day that year, she posted a picture of the two of us. To me, that photo meant the world, a public declaration that Chloe was taken, no longer on the market. I was so happy I told a friend, but he looked at me confused. He said he'd never seen such a post. Only then did I discover she'd set the post to visible only to me. My friend could only offer a lame consolation. Maybe she just likes to keep her relationships private. She's not close to anyone else anyway, always focused on work. And besides, if she didn't love you, she wouldn't be with you. I believed that, until Jax returned home after studying abroad. A year ago, he was Chloe's college classmate. They had been very close. She'd always looked out for him and helped him. After Jax returned to the country and found a job in Metropolis, the first thing he did was contact Chloe. From the start, I felt uneasy about how often they met. When I asked her about it, she gently replied, "Jax is my college friend. We were in the same club, like siblings. He just came back. He's still getting used to life here. I'm just helping him a little." "Are you going to tell me no?" "Don't be so petty, okay?" Her words stung. I retorted, "Just helping? You spend more time with him than you do with me. You always say you're busy with work, so how do you have time to hang out with him?" She immediately fired back. "What do you want me to do? Stay at the office with you all day? What would people think if they saw us like that? Besides, Jax and I only play frisbee and tennis, all healthy, positive activities. Why are you jealous over things like that? Ethan, when are you going to grow up?" To prove that they were just sports buddies, she dragged me along to their frisbee game that evening. It was the first time I met Jax. He was tall, handsome, and exuded an irritatingly natural confidence. I, a skinny office worker, exhausted from 80-hour work weeks, stood beside him looking like I belonged to a different generation. The moment he saw me, he chuckled and joked. "Chloe, is this your dad?" I expected Chloe to immediately correct him and introduce me properly, but no, she laughed and replied, "This is Ethan, my boyfriend, the one I told you about. He's a total corporate drone. How can he compare to a hunk like you? I brought him here so he could see we're just playing sports and stop worrying." She clearly stated I was her boyfriend, but every word felt like a slap. And worse, right after that, Jax casually slung an arm around her shoulder and said with a smile, "So I should call you my future brother-in-law then? You're a lucky guy. Chloe used to be the campus queen, you know." I looked at him, my voice deep and cold. "Take your hand off her." Jax met my gaze, then quickly pulled his arm back. Chloe's face immediately turned frigid. "Ethan, what is wrong with you? This is the first time you've met Jax, and you're already making the atmosphere so awkward?" He studied abroad. People overseas hug or put their arms around each other all the time. He just put his hand on my shoulder. Why are you overreacting? Jax, with the sanctimonious air of a good guy, stepped in to mediate. "Hey, calm down. Don't be mad at him. He probably hasn't been abroad, so he still has those old-fashioned ideas. Don't worry, I don't mind." I clenched my fists, my fingers trembling with anger. I knew I had no chance against him, tall, strong, annoyingly confident, but that arrogant face made me want to punch him squarely in the nose. Before I could say anything, Chloe spoke up, her tone sarcastic. "Did you hear that, Ethan? You should learn from Jax. Be a little more generous. Stop acting like some abandoned housewife, being jealous for no reason." Then she turned to him and started discussing the upcoming match, leaving me standing there like an unwanted guest. For the first time, I felt Chloe crushing my self-respect right in front of another person. Watching them talk and laugh, a terrifying thought flashed through my mind. "Chloe, whose girlfriend are you really?" A moment later, the game began. She had instructed me beforehand that whenever I caught the disc, I had to throw it to Jax. It was my first time playing, and my body wasn't suited for sports. I was clumsy and awkward, but I swear I didn't mean to. After only 5 minutes, while chasing the disc, I stumbled and bumped into his leg. Jax fell to the ground. his face contorted as if he'd been gravely injured. He was no longer the 6-foot-plus powerhouse, but seemed as frail as a trampled flower. His teammates immediately rushed to help him up, while Chloe stormed towards me, her voice ringing with contempt. "Ethan, if you have a problem with Jax, just tell him like a man. Why do you have to resort to such despicable tricks? If he's really hurt, you'll be responsible." I stood frozen. I didn't even understand what had happened. I didn't know how to play, so I'd always try to be careful. I completely failed to grasp why I'd bumped into him, or how someone as big as Jax could be knocked down by me, nearly 30 pounds lighter. But all I knew was that my action had unleashed Chloe's furious rage. She unleashed her fury on me, without an ounce of restraint, tearing apart my last shred of self-respect in front of her friends, turning me into a contemptible figure in their eyes. Worse, Jax tried to fan the flames. "Hey, Ethan, I apologized to you earlier. Now that you've tripped me, do you feel better? If you're still angry, feel free to scold me more, even hit me. Just please, don't make things difficult for Chloe, okay?" A knot formed in my throat, a surge of resentment so overwhelming I couldn't breathe. I wanted to offer 1,000 explanations, but no matter what I said, no one there would believe me. Chloe stepped forward, shoving me hard in the chest, her voice dripping with disdain. "See, Ethan, this is why I never want to bring you out to meet my friends. We are completely different. You just cause trouble and embarrass me. Go. Don't tarnish my reputation any further." She was right. It was truly humiliating. I left the field under their scrutinizing gazes and whispered remarks. Afterward, Chloe demanded I go to the hospital and formally apologize to Jax. From that day on, I tried to avoid any event he would attend. I knew, simply by being present, I would become their laughingstock again. But my absence only seemed to make them closer. Chloe started wearing matching sports clothes with him, then posted photos of them together on social media. When I asked her about it, the conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument. I just wanted her to show me a minimum of respect, not to make me see those images anymore. She nonchalantly replied that their Frisbee team had a penalty for the losing team, and those photos were just a punishment devised by the winning side. She said it lightly, as if it were all a harmless joke, and I could only stand there, watching her arrogance crush my dignity in silence. She felt no guilt whatsoever, even threatening to block me if I didn't learn to be more sporting. Well, now she had her wish. She could block me forever. My foot healed quickly, and the next day I was at work on time. I planned to resign immediately, but as a professional, I had one last contract to finalize and didn't want to leave it unfinished. That evening, I had a dinner meeting with several clients, followed by karaoke. Before I left the office, Chloe called. "How's your foot? Did you go to the doctor?" "It's fine," I replied evenly. "Don't worry. Good. About the marriage papers, we'll talk when we have time. Wait for me in the office after work. I'll pick you up. I have dinner plans with some friends." My refusal clearly confused her. In the past, I had always begged her to let me join her friends, to let everyone know we were a couple, but she usually refused with various excuses. Now, she was inviting me, and I was declining. "Ethan, did I hear that right?" she asked, half disbelieving. "You're not coming? Who do you think you are? Do I really need you there? I'm extending an olive branch, you idiot." "Yes, I am an idiot," I replied coldly, then hung up. Arguments were for people who still wanted to hold on. I no longer had the desire to fight. After work, I took a taxi to the restaurant and presented my proposal to the clients. The discussion went smoothly. One of the clients, an elegant woman named Iris, seemed impressed by my capabilities and didn't pressure me to drink. After dinner, we moved to a private karaoke room. The alcohol flowed more freely, and the atmosphere became more intimate. Iris casually asked if I had a girlfriend. I replied, "Whether I do or I don't, it's all the same." "What do you mean?" she asked. "Either you do or you don't. How can it be the same?" I looked at her and said, "If I have a girlfriend who doesn't respect our relationship, who doesn't respect what I put into it, then does it really matter if I have one or not?" She looked at me with the calm wisdom of an older sister. then you should know when to cut your losses. Don't waste your time on the wrong person. Just then, the other clients pulled us into a spinning bottle drinking game, and luck, it seemed, was on my side. The bottle landed on Iris. Their rule was to kiss the person next to them, and the person next to her was me. In that karaoke room, I finalized the last contract. I went home with a signed agreement and a faint hickey on my neck. I showered, washing away the smell of cigarettes and alcohol. And when everything was finally done, I could leave this city with a clear conscience. Just as I thought that, the apartment door opened. Chloe stood there, supporting a heavily inebriated Jax. "Ethan, what are you staring at? Come help me," she pleaded, looking at me as if I were her only salvation. This wasn't the first time she'd brought Jax back to my place. Because her parents were strict and had a curfew, whenever Jax was drunk or sick and had no one to care for him, she'd leave him in my apartment. In the past, out of respect for her, I'd reluctantly helped. But now, I just watched her struggle with the drunk man, my face impassive. Chloe finally managed to drag Jax onto the sofa. She turned to me, fuming. "Ethan, didn't you hear me call you? I told you to help me. Why were you just standing there? Want to make a scene? Who told you to bring him here? Just like you brought him, take him away. Otherwise, I'll throw him out myself." Chloe stared at me, her face full of bewilderment, as if she couldn't believe her ears. "Ethan, have you lost your mind? Do you know who you're talking to?" Chloe glared, her voice sharp, then her eyes suddenly fixed on my neck, where the faint hickey still lingered. Her entire face immediately contorted with furious anger. "What is that?" she shrieked. "What's that mark on your neck? No wonder you didn't want to have dinner with me tonight. You must have been with some other tramp, right? Ethan, I must have been blind to trust a two-faced scumbag like you. Where is that woman? Let me tear her apart." Her rage exploded. Chloe stormed into the bedroom, then straight into the bathroom, ransacking everything as if searching for some invisible woman. While she was raging, I grabbed Jax by the shoulder, the still unconscious man, and started pulling him towards the door. "Ethan, let go of Jax," she screamed. "First, you need to explain to me where that hickey came from." I didn't bother to reply, just looked directly at her and said, definitively, "This is my apartment, and he, a drunk man, entering without my permission, is trespassing. If you don't get him out of here right now, I will call the police." "Ethan, you wouldn't dare," she yelled, her eyes wide. "Go ahead and call. I swear I'll break up with you instantly." It wasn't the first time she'd threatened me with those words. In the past, whenever I did anything that displeased her, she would use "I'll break up with you" like a knife to my throat. And I had always been the one to surrender. But this time was different. I calmly pressed the call button. "Hello," I said clearly into the phone. "I'd like to report a disturbance. A drunk man has broken into my apartment. I feel my life and property are being threatened. My address is—" "Ethan, you win," Chloe shrieked, her face beet red with fury. She pulled Jax up forcefully, dragged him out of the apartment, and the door slammed shut behind them. It turned out that a little coldness and silence could solve most problems. I wondered why I had been so afraid of her breaking up with me, when this woman had forgotten our anniversary just to play frisbee with Jax. In my heart, this relationship had ended long ago. The next morning, I went to work as usual, finishing up my remaining tasks. I was ready to submit my resignation, but before I left, I treated myself to one last meal at the company cafeteria. A $10 meal of rice, 1 meat, 2 vegetables, and what everyone jokingly called dishwater soup. Whether my salary was $2,000 or over $10,000 a month, I had always been the most loyal customer of that cafeteria. As I ate, tears unexpectedly welled up. This $10 meal wasn't just food. It was the taste of years of hardship, of the silent hurts I had swallowed. After eating, I intended to go to HR to submit my resignation. But before I could, Chloe burst into the company, causing a commotion throughout the office. She strode towards me, grabbed my collar, intending to expose the hickey on my neck for everyone to see. "Ethan," she yelled in front of everyone, "if it weren't for me, do you think you could have worked in my family's company for so long? Now you think you've achieved a little something, and you dare to betray me? Aren't you ashamed to show your face here? Who do you think you are? So clever? Do these colleagues know you've worn the same shirt for 3 years? Do they know your underwear has holes? She exposed my poverty before everyone, turning me into a laughingstock. The entire office buzzed with whispers. Oh my God, Ethan is so bold, dating the boss's daughter, daring to cheat on her. I once asked why he kept wearing the same kind of shirt. I thought he was joking when he said he bought 3 identical ones. Who knew it was true? His salary is $8,000 a month, but he lives like a pauper. Where does all his money go? Yes, they asked the right question. Where did my money go? Why did I have to suffer so much? Because in their eyes, I was just a lowly employee, lucky enough to date the director's daughter, and no one saw what I had sacrificed for that love. They didn't see that I was the one paying for Chloe's gas, paying for her dinners, nor did they know I was secretly saving every penny for an engagement ring, wedding gifts, and a down payment for a house. If I didn't try to do it myself, should I have burdened my parents? I never thought that everything I did for her, every small sacrifice, every effort, would ultimately become a weapon she used against me. The whispers in the office cut into my heart like knives. In that painful moment, I suddenly realized something clear. I had to cut ties with Chloe immediately. She saw that everyone was on her side and flashed a triumphant smile. With her arms crossed, chin held high, she said imperiously, "Ethan, if you still want to keep this job, then tell me clearly right now who that tramp is. I want to meet her and ask why she likes to seduce other people's men. Otherwise, I'll tell HR to fire you immediately." I let out a cold laugh. Fire me? Isn't that exactly what I want? Chloe froze, her brow furrowed. What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. I said, that's fine. I repeated, my voice calm. You want to fire me? Then do it. Right now. Her face turned crimson with rage. Ethan, you scumbag. Do you really want to throw away your entire future just for that woman? Do you really want me to break up with you? I looked at her, my voice hoarse but steady. Chloe, do you truly think that by threatening to break up, I'll get down on my knees and beg for forgiveness like before? Don't you understand? From the moment I sat waiting for you all day at the city hall, while you were playing frisbee with your college friend, it was over between us. She looked at me as if she were facing a stranger. Ethan, do you know that if I break up with you, I can find someone better in an instant? I know. I nodded, a faint smile touching my lips. There probably isn't a worse man than me. So please, don't torment yourself any further. Break up with me and run to your dear best friend. When you two get married, remember to let me know. I'll send a very generous gift. That decision was like a blade that had fallen. There was no turning back. The news reached Chloe's parents, who immediately sided with her, showering me with vitriolic abuse over the phone, calling me a parasite, an ungrateful snake. My resignation was processed with astonishing speed. The moment I stepped out of the building with my box of personal belongings, I took a deep breath. The air outside tasted cleaner than ever before. Perhaps this was the sin of freedom. Since I was leaving, I invited a few close friends for a farewell meal. They joked, "This miser is finally opening his wallet." Then they playfully asked if I was about to borrow money. I told them honestly that I was leaving Metropolis to return to my hometown. After hearing my story, everyone tried to convince me to stay. Their advice was a jumble, both heartfelt and naive. Look, Chloe just has a bit of a princess complex, don't all girls these days? She's beautiful and rich. If you marry her, you'll never have to worry about anything again. Just put up with it a little longer. So what if she's close to Jax? Everyone has friends of the opposite sex. Learn to ignore it. They say ignorance is bliss. I listened, my heart empty. Whether their intentions were good or not, I no longer cared. We talked late into the night, and then I headed home. As I approached my apartment door, I stopped short. Before me, a woman was curled up, asleep beside the door. I bent down to look closely. My heart sank. It was Chloe. Tear streaks still marked her cheek, her face pale and weary. She didn't stir, even though I stood right in front of her. I gently nudged her shoulder. Wake up. If you want to sleep, go home. What are you doing at my door? She opened her eyes, disoriented for a few seconds, then immediately grabbed my hand. Ethan, she pleaded, her voice urgent. Do you really want to break up with me? I laughed bitterly. Weren't you the one who humiliated me in front of everyone, threatened to fire me, and then declared we were breaking up? Ethan, you know me, I was just angry. I've threatened to break up with you before, but we never actually did we? I was afraid she would cause another scene in the hallway, so I reluctantly let her inside. But as soon as she entered, Chloe's gaze immediately fell on the suitcase I had neatly packed. Her eyes widened in astonishment. We just had an argument. Why are you packing? This is your home. Are you really going to leave? I shook my head slightly. A place is only called home when it feels like you belong there. Before, at least I had you in this city. Now, there's nothing left. I'm just going back to my real home. Her voice trembled. Ethan, don't say that. It hurts me. The reason I acted like this today is because I care about you, because I don't want to lose you. I gave a weak smile. You don't want to lose me, yet you humiliate me in front of everyone. Frankly, you're not afraid of losing me. You're just afraid others won't see how well you've trained me. After being publicly shamed by you, must I still kneel and apologize to be patted on the head and comforted? No, thank you. I'd rather lose you than lose my self-respect. My words struck her like a punch to the chest, making her freeze, fumbling for an excuse. Ethan, I never, ever considered you a stranger. You're my boyfriend, the man I want to marry. How could I ever think of you as inferior? Can we please stop arguing? Tomorrow we'll go to the city hall to sign the papers, and I'll stop seeing Jax, okay? I looked at her for a long time, then asked, You knew I didn't like Jax, so why did you still play Frisbee with him? Why did you post photos of you two online? Because she stammered, searching for words she couldn't find. I coldly cut her off. Let me speak for you, shall I? Because Jax makes you proud. With him by your side, you look radiant, more outstanding. While an ordinary guy like me is only fit to stay at home, a backdrop for your luxurious life. You want me to wait for you at home, and you want him to show off in public, right? Tears streamed down her cheeks. I didn't know if it was out of hurt or guilt. And truthfully, I no longer care to know. To me, they were just crocodile tears. I think there's nothing left for us to say, I said softly. If there's nothing else, Miss Chloe, you can go now. From now on, you and Jax can do whatever you want. No one will bother you anymore. She grabbed my hand, tried to explain further, but I immediately pulled away. Miss Chloe, please watch your conduct. We are no longer lovers nor colleagues. There's no reason for us to hold hands. Not everyone lacks boundaries like you. She snapped back, her voice filled with indignation. You dare to talk to me about boundaries? Ethan, you're the one who let another woman leave a hickey on your neck, and you have the nerve to talk about limits? I replied coldly. What's so big about a hickey? What about you and Jax getting matching team marks? Did I ever say a single word about that? I explained it already, she retorted, her voice urgent. That mark was a penalty for the losing team in the Frisbee game. If you're so bothered by it, I'll deal with it right now. She held up her left hand, revealing a small, simple smiley face on the inside of her wrist, the team mark. Then, in a panic, Chloe frantically scrubbed at the skin with her fingernails until her wrist was red and raw. But remorse that came this late was cheaper than dirt. The sight didn't soften my heart. It only filled me with pity. I pulled her out of the apartment and slammed the door shut. Though she wailed, crying and pounding on the door outside, my heart remained cold as ice. I had a few hours until my afternoon train, so I decided to stop by the market to buy some gifts for my parents. But just as I arrived, my phone rang. It was Chloe's parents. Angry shouts erupted from a speaker. They said Chloe had been in a car accident last night, broken her leg, and was in the hospital. I knew I owed her nothing, had no obligation to care, but thinking about the accident happening right after she left my apartment, I couldn't remain indifferent. At least for the minimum courtesy of a human being, I decided to go to the hospital. When I entered the hospital corridor, through a glass window, I saw Jax in Chloe's room. I was about to turn and leave, but then a voice from inside made me pause. I was just about to turn away when I heard Chloe's voice from the room, clear, sharp, and decisive. Jax, we shouldn't see each other anymore. Why? He asked, his voice filled with suspicion. Because of Ethan. But you two already broke up. Jax exclaimed, unable to hide his confusion. When you were together, you didn't care about his feelings. Now that you've broken up, why are you suddenly cutting ties with me? I saw Chloe's expression falter. Perhaps his words finally made her, for the first time, reflect on herself. But Jax continued, his voice growing heavier. You yourself said that a boring guy like Ethan should thank his lucky stars he was with you. You said only you could break up with him, and he would never dare to. You even said that even if you two got married, it wouldn't affect our relationship. What relationship? Chloe snapped back, her voice sharp. We're just friends, sports teammates. Friends, he sneered, his voice laced with bitterness. Chloe, you posted photos of us online, you got matching team marks with me, and wore matching sports clothes. In the Frisbee group, everyone thought we were a couple. You honestly didn't know that. His words choked Chloe, making her gasp. No way. She shrieked. I was just close to you, but we were never a couple. Why didn't anyone tell me that? Why would they need to? Jax replied, his voice deep and sorrowful. The way we behaved said it all. Chloe, I won't hide it anymore. I've loved you for a long time. Chloe was stunned, as if she couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Are you kidding? We've always been like siblings. No kidding. He looked at her earnestly. That time we invited Ethan to play Frisbee, I deliberately put my arm around your shoulder in front of him. I also intentionally let him bump into me. I wanted to see how you would react, and, as always, you chose to protect me. The day that coffee table broke his toenail, you ignored him and rushed to care for my sprained ankle. That's when I knew, in your heart, I was more important than him. He lifted his head, his eyes shining. Now that you two are broken up, Chloe, can we be together? He reached out, intending to take her hand, but Chloe violently slapped his hand away, then delivered a resounding slap across his face. You scumbag, she shrieked, trying to stand up from the hospital bed. But because of her broken leg, she staggered and fell to the floor, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. In her despair, she called my name again and again, her voice hoarse and broken. A sense of lightness washed over my heart. The feeling of liberation, as if years of shackles had finally been removed. I smiled faintly, turned my back, and left the hospital without stepping into the room, without giving her a chance to apologize. On the train ride back to my hometown, I deleted all contact with Chloe, blocked her number, deleted photos, removed everything related to her from my phone. The past years flashed through my mind like a film reel. Love, bitterness, hurt, and hope. But everything, good or bad, had contributed to making me the person I was today. After returning to my hometown, Chloe still tried to contact me, using new phone numbers, creating new social media accounts, sending countless messages begging for forgiveness, pleading for another chance. I ignored it all. Finally, when she came all the way to my town to find me, I changed my phone number, decisively cutting off every path back. In a city as vast as this, if fate doesn't want two people to meet again, there will never be another encounter. I only hoped that when she cried out my name in that hospital room that day, it wasn't just out of guilt, but because she had truly realized something. At the very least, I hoped that no one else would have to suffer as I had. And I also hoped that all those in this world who dared to love with all their hearts would never be taken for granted, never be exploited, and never have to trade their sincerity for those who weren't worthy.